Hello and welcome.
Okay, I guess we're rolling. Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. We took some time off during the holidays. It was Christmas and all that sort of crazy stuff, as well as the COVID numbers started going up. So we decided to take a little break as well. But now we're excited to have Gomo George into the podcast studio. Welcome, Gomo. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I see you every now and then in the neighborhood.
Yeah, well, we're neighbors.
That's right, we're neighbors. That's right. Yeah, that's great. Well, it's so great to have you on the show. And you're a writer and a multi-disciplinary artist. Maybe explain to people what multi-disciplinary artist is.
Multidisciplinary. Basically, it's an artist that works in more than one discipline. So, discipline being painting, sculpture, drawing.
I see. Okay.
Thing, yeah.
Okay. Right. Because I was looking at some of your works. You do, I guess, fine art painting. In watercolors, I've noticed them, and then you're also you do sculptures as well.
Yeah.
And watercolors, that's your preferred medium to paint in, or?
Right now, I'm working in acrylic.
Okay.
I started working in watercolor when my children were born.
Okay.
Because I worked at home, and got really conscious about toxicity.
Right. Oh, that's
right.
That
type of thing, So watercolor seems to be the safest medium to working if you're working around children.
Sure. Yeah. Because it's okay then for children to get like the fingers on the paint and they won't.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend they ingest it, but
sure.
Getting their hands dirty, like
that's right.
My children would be at my feet while I painted because basically, I'll just tack a piece of paper on the wall.
Yeah.
And that would be my painting spot for the time.
Okay, right.
So they'd come play, and sometimes they would bring their crayons.
Okay. And they add it to the work.
And they add it to the work,
Yeah. That's right. And now there's being auctioned off for millions, I heard.
Well, I'm being asked for royalties.
Okay, well, there you go.
So
there you go. So your latest, I guess, exhibition, Fragments of Epic Memory, and that's at the AGO until the end of February. Is that correct? Okay. And maybe tell us what that's all about, because is that in the watercolor medium as well?
The piece, it's in watercolor, and it's one of the pieces I did for a series I call Real Mass. It's a series on costuming in Carnival back home.
Right.
Yeah, Dominica, so...
Right, because that's where you're from.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's like a big sort of cultural activity, Carnival.
Yes, happens every year. I mean, the preparation takes months.
Okay.
People start months in advance preparing their costumes, the events and so on, and it happens. Celebration pretty much happens over a month.
Right.
But, Carnival is really the Monday and Tuesday before Lent, right? What we call Shrove Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's in, I don't follow dates of things. That's in February then?
It's in February.
Okay,
usually between February and March. It's pre-Lent.
I see, okay. Pre-Lent,
right? So Lent shifts according to the calendar year. It might be in March or it might be in February.
Right.
Yeah. So.
And Lent is where you kind of abstain and kind of try to do good with your thoughts and your body and your eating and everything else. Yeah. So this is kind of like the big party before you go into this hibernation. Right. Okay. Right. Great. And is a lot of your work inspired from back home?
Yeah. Coming to Canada from the Caribbean, when you start painting in the Caribbean, there's not a whole history that you have to entertain. Mm-hmm. Doing art here in Canada is different because, even from high school, like you're charged with the whole history of the Greeks and the Romans and the French and the whole baggage, right?
Right.
So it comes, the stream of art, the discussion comes from that area. So when I came here, I had to decide, well, what is my art gonna be based on? And
Right.
so I chose Carnival as a place for aesthetic inspiration. Because it's a time of year when a lot of artistic activity happens, a lot of music, painting, costume making, that type of thing. Yeah.
Right. And then how long have you been painting for? Like, was this an interest when you were a kid, or did you discover it in high school, or?
It started early. I mean, I think at age 13, I started to actually keep my work.
Okay.
People started to recognize that I had talent. And,
Right.
Yeah. I had a friend, close neighbor that we worked together, so we kind of pushed each other, as young people will do, right?
That's right.
Who can draw better, who can paint better, the next...
It's friendly competition. That's right.
Yeah. Eddie John actually went on to become quite an accomplished artist himself.
Okay.
Bit older than me, so bit of a mentor at the time, yeah.
Okay. Great. Well, you look pretty young yourself. Come on, you're getting...
I'm a grandparent. So.
Right. Okay. So I guess at that age, you were encouraged by your friends and peers to create art. And did anyone else see kind of that spark or that talent that you had? Like, were there galleries or anyone else approaching you? Or that came later, I guess.
Galleries came later. I mean, after I left Dominica in 1975.
Okay.
And I think the first gallery opened in 1983, which would be Aquarella Gallery on King George V Street. Oh, okay. Never showed there, but going back,
okay.
I go and see shows there. Some of my old friends would be showing there.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So at the time that you left, I guess, Dominica, were there a lot of places to exhibit your work? Even not necessarily in a gallery, like cafes?
You were strongly discouraged.
I see. Okay.
From being an artist. Artists don't make money.
They don't.
No. And I mean, it wasn't part of the school curriculum.
Right. I see. Okay.
You see, colonial administration, it's all about, training people to be administrators.
I see.
If you reach the high school level, you're on the road to be an administrator, work in a government office. Or,
I see.
Maybe you work for one of the local businessmen downtown.
I see, okay.
So that was the atmosphere at the time.
Right.
So
it was the basics, like reading, writing, arithmetic. There was no art. Was there like gym or physical
activity? We had what we call physical education.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. It was like half a period or something. We'd go play soccer or cricket or one of different sports, right? Yeah.
Right. So then when you came to Canada, did you find there were more opportunities or more avenues for you to get your art noticed by other people, or did you have more access to sort of galleries or other sort of exhibition, I guess?
I mean, the first thing was when I had graduated school from Dominica Grammar School, graduated high school, and then immediately that summer I immigrated to Canada. When I came here, I was told by Immigration Canada that I had to get Canadian experience.
Okay.
Back then, that was the thing, right? So they recommended I go back to high school for 2 years. So I did grade 11, or was it grade 12 and grade 13? Grade 12 and grade 13 in Canada.
Oh, I see, okay.
Yeah. So one of the surprises was there was actually an art class. There was a room dedicated
for art.
Okay. So I went to the teacher and said I wanted to join the class because, I thought it was like a recreational activity.
Right.
And she was doubtful because I hadn't taken art in previous classes.
Sure.
So I had to go home and bring her an example of my work.
Oh, like your portfolio. Okay.
So that's how it started, Then I graduated from grade 13. I had to decide what I wanted to do. and decided wanted to go study art. So I went to Fanshawe College in London.
Oh, Fanshawe. I attended there for music and history arts.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes.
The music school was actually right next to the fine arts studio.
Okay.
Yeah. Across the hall, actually. Yeah.
I think they put all the artists in the same wing of the college.
Oh, okay.
Keep them all over there in that area.
Photography was there as well.
That's right. Photography was there. That's right. Right. I recall it very well. And everyone would hang out. Like all the artists would be in that, because the different wings of Fanshawe, at least when I was there, had different cafeterias.
Right. So
if you went to the other wing, there'd be like all the business students eating in the cafeteria. And then when you got to the artist wing, because it's all the artists, photographers, fine artists and musicians are all hanging out sort of in that cafeteria. The cool cafeteria. Yeah. But I digress with my cafeteria stories. And then after Fanshawe, you went to the University of Western Ontario. You attended there as well as...
University of Manitoba.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Okay. And you got your degree from
I got my bachelor, B.F.A, Bachelor of Fine Arts, at the University of Manitoba.
Okay.
I mean, that was an interesting experience, because then you get into the academics of art.
Right.
And that was different as well, apart from art history, and then having to consider other arts like African art. You see what I mean? Right. So, there was that whole, I think I was maybe one of 2 people of African descent in the school.
Okay.
Yeah, same at Fanshawe. It wasn't very different.
It wasn't very, okay. And so when you were taking your B.F.A in Manitoba, what was the curriculum like? Or did you have certain expectations going into the program that you wanted to learn, or some sort of knowledge that you were trying to grasp?
Coming from Fanshawe, I had developed a portfolio. I'd really done a lot of exploration, especially in painting.
Right.
So, I had a sense of myself as an artist. So going in, I was more interested in really, finding out more about the history of art, the finer points, because in college they teach you the technical things.
Right.
You learn to paint, spend a lot of time in the workshop, like the wood shop.
It's more practical.
It's more practical, right? Printmaking,
right.
Photography, you cover all the different mediums.
Right.
So you learn all those techniques. Not so much, there's a little bit of art history, but not so much.
Okay.
So the study of art, like in terms of its history, the philosophy of it,
right.
It's not there in the colleges, right?
Okay.
So I wanted to, know a bit more, so I chose to go to U of A.
Right, and that's more, I guess, like you said, the more of the art history, the more the academic sort of side, rather than the hands-on, here's how you actually do the art. We're going to teach you where some of these, styles came from, or whatever. I never took any art school, so I don't know what they teach you. But there's
you learn from the Greeks, right?
Right.
The idea of Greek art, what classical art means,
Right.
Things like why. I mean, the Greeks did art because they wanted to represent godlike figures.
I see. Okay, right.
So they had the perfect measurements for the body, the muscle mass, and and then the flow of the fabric was very important in classical art.
Yes, yeah.
You see it replicated in the time of Michelangelo, the Renaissance, right?
That's right.
With David and all of that.
That's right.
So learning all about that part of it. Eddie was really quite interested. We used to go to the library in Dominica and, flip through the encyclopedias so we could learn a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah, so I decided to further that if I go into university.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And then I guess you had developed more sort of friends and relationships in Manitoba. There were other artists that carried on to do what they're doing, or did you find that those people maybe didn't carry on with their desire to be an artist? They went on to become educators, or maybe not even work in the art field anymore.
I haven't kept up with a lot of people
right.
from school. In terms of who's still functioning, I know a friend of mine, Samir Shada, he's out in Edmonton right now.
Oh, okay.
He maintains a painting practice.
Right.
You know, I think most people, in art school, maybe 1% of a class might continue actually into a practice.
Right.
Yeah, keeping a practice.
Well, it's like that in the music business too. Like only 1% will actually go on to do something in that career. Yeah. So what are some of your artworks about? I was reading an article that was talking about how storytelling can be a political act, but it doesn't always have to be adversarial. Like there can be some sort of teaching component.
Yeah.
Is that what you're trying to do with your art?
Yeah, basically that's what I do with my art. Like I tell stories.
Okay.
You know, when I started, my thesis at U of M was around the technological primitive. You know, because at the time there was still the discussion of the primitive on art, like African art was. Most of the books, I remember the professor apologizing, right? For the books that I had to buy, you know. So that's what I did my work around, and it was kind of antagonistic.
I see.
Let's put it that way, because, you know, it's kind of like fighting from the wall when you run into that type of discussion, right? Because immediately anything you do, if you're a black artist, if you do a landscape painting, and once you reach the gallery, it's black art.
Okay.
So that was the experience.
Right.
You see what I mean?
I see, yeah.
So it's, you know, it didn't matter what you did. If you did portrait, once you identify the artist as black, that becomes black art.
I see. Okay.
So it becomes, so my thing then became about communication.
Right.
How do you get into an equal communication with an audience in Canada?
Right.
You see, yeah. So the first group of work, the first set of work I did after school in Winnipeg got quite popular. It was all about Black Power and different anti-apartheid statements, those type of things, right? And really, the work was really popular. I got written up by magazines, but what I found was that although, the works were spectacles, I wasn't really communicating.
Okay.
Yeah, so the next set of work I did was called Stories and Dialogues. Yeah, so dialogue, aya in Rastafarian terms, aya that's used when you want to include your audience. So if I'm talking, I'm telling your story, then I will just interject and say, aya, it's like this, and this is what went on. So then, it means I'm sharing the story.
Right.
My story is your story and vice versa.
Okay.
You see, so that was the title of the show. One of the pieces was called Names of African People I Know. And I chose the names of maybe 22. I had a whole lot of names, but I cut it down to 22 and built 22 structures.
Right.
And each one was named. So when the audience would walk by and view the statement, by the time they got to the last one, that would be 22 names of African African people that they knew, that I've shared with them, right?
Right.
So in that way, my story now becomes the audience's story.
Right.
And so I tried, Call I Beauty was another piece that I did recently, showed at Gallery 1313 in just before the pandemic.
Just before the pandemic.
Yeah, in 2020.
Yeah. And that's on Queen Street West.
On Queen Street West,
gotcha,
yeah. Call I Beauty. And, that's just about, the audience and a piece of artwork.
Okay.
If I put a piece of artwork in the gallery and the audience come in, they will get their own sense of beauty from that piece.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
You know, so tapping into conversations like that is more unifying than, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we live in such a polarized time now. I think it's more important.
So, yeah.
I always use the expression to sort of extend the olive branch rather than trying to hammer someone with your point of view or your ideas. There should be, like you said, that discussion.
Yeah.
And that's great that your art and you're trying to make that sort of discussion happening. And you still see that sort of happening with your art today?
Yeah. Okay. Today, you know, I mean, I kind of progress, you know, so some of the things that I look at are common concerns, you know.
Right.
So one of the pieces I'm working on right now, it's, you know, called 1,000 Prayers for the Ring of Fire.
Oh.
You know, and if you know the Ring of Fire, it's a section of Northern Ontario that is slated for mining.
The mining, that's right. Right.
It's one of the largest, it is the largest marshland in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. That's
and we're talking roads and,
yes,
you know, numbers.
That's right.
you know, and it's not something that's out there, that people are talking about. But if you're, you know, a friend of mine is from the area and, you know, he came back quite concerned. That's how I found out about, you know, the plans for that area. I've never been there myself.
No, it's actually, we're both from Thunder Bay.
Okay.
Yeah. So, we're aware with the Ring of Fire and what's happening up there. There's been a lot of influx of cash and even development. Even hotel chains are popping up there, like building big hotels, I guess, in anticipation of
workers and so on.
Yeah. Yeah, at least it's added some nice new restaurants to try.
Gotta love restaurants.
Gotta love restaurants, that's right. Except now, I mean, COVID, I mean, they're having a hard time, and I really hope they pull through, of course. But yeah, so the Ring of Fire, right. So you have an artwork or a piece about that sort of conversation.
Yeah, so it's a series of sculptures that I'm building.
Okay, right.
Yeah, and it just accidentally, like, you know, came around that theme. Like that, when I heard that story, like the image popped in my mind, you know, that I was gonna do this piece of sculpture, you know, just to sort of put out that energy, like maybe as a protection or whatever. I mean, we don't know what art does, but you know, you say if you have the intent, maybe it will flow. You know,
that's right.
Yeah, and then the other one is called I Moon. And it's about the moon.
Oh, okay.
You know, and this one now, I mean, it's very similar. You know, there is a lot of mining interest in the moon.
That's right.
Which is when I started to do the piece, I started to do it in terms of, you know, everyone appreciating the moon, that the fact that the moon influences the water, and that our bodies are made up mostly of water, and, you know, we have this intense relationship with that, you know, I want to call it a being in the sky.
In some ways, it is, if you really think about it.
You see, you know, so I built this piece of sculpture around that, and, you know, of course, you start to go into the internet and start looking around issues around the moon, and, you know, everyone has interest in mining in the moon.
They do.
And what's that gonna do? And at the same time, if you look at the piece, it's a happy piece. But for me, that's the background. That's what I discovered.
That's right.
You know, and then it has a relation now to the Ring of Fire, because, again, mining interest, right?
That's right.
So, you know, and they're both, I mean, prayers, supplications, they're usually beautiful incantations.
Right.
You know, so I'm writing on that, you know, to make the work not jarring, to make it palatable, right? So people can appreciate a beautiful piece of artwork, but also, like what with my moon experience, then also become aware, there's this other part of it that maybe we should start looking at.
That's right. And it feels like humanity, we are now looking more to the stars for answers to our problems, not just minerals, but what if there's aliens? Do they maybe they can help us, or are we alone in the universe? There's all sorts of answers that we're now looking to the stars. Is that because here on Earth we've run out of ideas, or we've run out of smart, intelligent conversations, or we just always had this fascination, you think, with
I think we've
space?
always had a connection, to the wider cosmos.
Right.
Like the Dogon of West Africa. I think in Mali. I think they're in Mali, the Dogon.
Okay. I'll Google it later, but okay.
But they claim to be from Sirius B.
Okay.
Right. So Sirius B is a planet that was undiscoverable to telescopes until the U.S. created the Hubble.
That's right. Right.
The Hubble telescope, right? And the stories from the Dogon goes back, generations.
Huh.
And they didn't. Astrologers didn't accept that there was such a place, that it was mythology until that telescope was built.
Huh.
So people have always talked about connections to the outer stars and coming from different places.
Right.
Yeah, than here on Earth, right?
That's right.
So what I want to find is just a different way to travel. Like, I don't want to go up there in those spaceships.
No.
The current spaceships are,
that's right.
Even the old ones.
Well, I mean, you can do psychedelic drugs and you can go to other planets. That's right. Yes. Coincidentally, I'm wearing my moon watch too. So.
I want to travel. I would like to see it, right? But I don't want to see it from inside one of those things.
No, you got to be there.
I want to be there.
Experience it, right? For sure. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. So what, getting sort of back on the art topic, we got spacey there for a second. What kind of medium are you going to be using then for these sculptures?
So I use a lot of repurposed materials.
Okay.
Yeah, so a lot of materials come from your house, like, tin cans, for example. Mm-hmm. That's like prime metal, right? Like,
right.
And then when you cut off the top, you have a perfect circle.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
I don't have to cut it myself. So all I have to do is collect different sizes.
I see, okay.
I should give you guys those things. I brought you guys a couple of...
Okay, sure. Oh, that's okay. We talk about space a lot on this podcast. Even other guests have nothing to do with. We talk about space. We talk about space and drugs a lot. Speaking of using repurposing things, we built this spaceship out of.
So this one's for you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, great. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So it's made up from an avocado seed.
Oh, yeah. That's great.
Right, yeah, so...
We'll show that on camera. We'll get a close-up maybe later. We'll take a picture. Okay, we'll take a picture. Yeah, we actually built this spaceship out of garbage parts.
Okay,
yeah. So I know what you mean about finding things around the house.
Sticks.
Right,
and you go out
right.
you find... There's different objects. Some things I buy, like nails and, beads. I use beads.
Okay.
Yeah. But definitely focus on materials coming through the house. Yeah.
Good.
And there's a lot of interest in that. I got invited by a group called Works in Progress. And they do a whole material swap type of events, where they get people in different neighborhoods to come to a common area and swap households.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, so there's a lot of that type of activity.
It's good, to recycle and get rid of some of your trash. Hey, we should sign up with some of...
check out Works in Progress. They're a good group.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, so, that's what I do. My imagination just comes up with these things. But I focus a lot on African aesthetics.
Okay.
You can't really reproduce like African art, but definitely you can learn from aesthetic formulas and then repurpose those, right? So,
right.
So that's what I do. Since I started building sculptures, it's always, I try and tend to follow a more cultural line of discussion, right? In terms of, interactions with people, neighborhood concerns, environmental concerns.
Right. And that's something unique that artists can do, because we can kind of hit all sort of demographics. We know people that are very poor. We also know people that are very wealthy, and all points in between, as well as, in many cases, sometimes even both sides of the political spectrum. And I think that's kind of our superpower, where we can reach different groups of people with messages. And it seems like that's what you're trying to do as well.
Well, yeah, that's what I do. I mean, a big part of my life was being a social worker, working with people who are, mental health issues or addictions issues.
Right.
So definitely that part of my life affects some of the discussions in my art.
Right.
One of the pieces that I did was called Free to Squat. And I don't know if you remember the days of the Pope Squat.
I do. I was on King Street.
Yeah.
We used to live not too far from there. We used to live farther down from here. But yes, I do remember.
Yeah, so that piece, kind of came after that whole activism, and it's all about, how elemental, space is. I mean, if you're born, you occupy space.
That's right.
So, as soon as you're born, you're free to squat, because it doesn't matter wherever they try and move you, you're going to occupy space.
You're going to occupy space. That's correct. No, that's true. And I was reading an article the last couple of weeks stating all the empty homes, vacant homes that we have here in Canada. A lot of them are like foreign investors and other types of corporations that own these places, I'll assume for investment purposes, but they're just empty, nobody there. I find that tragic, especially when we have at times such high homelessness.
Yeah, it is tragic, and I mean, partly it's driving up the cost of housing, that type of, really wrecks neighborhoods.
Right.
A classic example would be East Danforth.
Oh.
Where, like a lot of the storefronts were owned by foreign investors.
Okay.
And were empty. So East End Arts, is one of the responses to that type of, depreciation. Right. Buildings are just empty, so they're not being looked after.
Right.
Makes the street look bad.
That's right.
Yeah, it really, it has a huge impact on our society, and of course, drives the cost of housing up, which is one of the results of homelessness.
Yeah. So do you see in the future, or even now, more artists, sort of collectives kind of forming, trying to make their own galleries where, all are welcome?
Okay. Yeah. So that, it's tricky.
Okay.
In terms of artists and galleries, artists, especially visual artists, were accused of being gentrifiers.
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So if you find like Queen Street, for example, maybe like 2002, 2003.
Right.
That era, from Bathurst all the way to Ronsonsville.
Yeah, there was
wall-to-wall galleries.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
No, try and find one.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, I mean, not that I don't think artists should get together and try and organize. All I'm saying, like, we have to watch it. It's tricky. Because...
That's right, because real estate developers watch that, and then they see, okay, this is going to be the artists are going to make the area cool and hip, and now we're going to come in and grab
Man,
all the
I
see the real estate, right?
And then everything else, and then
Right.
you turn around and the artists don't have a place to show because they can't afford those places anymore.
Right.
You see, yeah. So I haven't come up with a solution yet. I do think we need to organize, especially locally, right? I mean,
What about like an artist speakeasy where you don't tell anyone? It's like a knock on the, hey, the password is this, and then it becomes this cool underground thing where not everyone, you don't let the real estate developers in. It's okay, Remax. We know you work for Remax. You can't come into the gallery.
Yeah.
Or don't even tell them it exists.
I think it's a good idea. A friend of mine, few years ago used to have a yearly show at her house. We should call it an open house.
Oh, great.
Right, and we would all bring a piece of artwork and she would make her walls available and stuff.
Right.
And it was just amazing. Like, you'd have about like 250 people come through on a weekend.
Oh, wow.
To see artwork.
Wow.
And it's a very different model, and I don't think galleries in Toronto can claim that type of exposure.
No, not at all.
Right?
Yeah.
It's really interesting. So, yeah, I mean, trying to sustain that in your house is a little bit, 250 people come.
No, I know.
Doesn't matter whether you do it once a year.
That's right. No,
You see what I mean?
I hear
Yeah. So, yeah, maybe finding, just spots.
Okay.
One of the spots I was looking up at is the old beer store, liquor store on a Brock.
Oh, that's right. Right.
Right? The liquor store moved and the building was empty for the longest time. And I started to have plans in my head, because it's a nice square box, right? Mm-hmm. They're tearing it down. So.
Oh, they're tearing it down. Oh, man.
Yeah, it's no rubber.
Are they going to put up a condo there, I tell you?
I guess a condo is going up,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's terrible. But what about like some of the businesses? Like I'll walk down on Roncesvalles and a restaurant or even the hardware store. They were displaying local artists in there for like a month. They had an exhibition with a theme.
Yeah.
Do you think that also helps exposure?
Yeah, I mean, I think those spaces are good for people who, are looking for exposure.
Right.
Want to get their work out there, looking for different venues because it can be kind of intimidating trying to get into galleries.
Right.
You send out proposals and you sit and wait and,
I see.
So, I mean, it can be really frustrating for some people.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're waiting a year or two. So having spots like that, it's easy access, you do the thing, your friends come out, you feel good about what you've done because it's out in the public. Yeah, but, for once you reach the level I'm at, it's not, the work gets to a level where you're afraid to put it in a restaurant because what if it gets damaged or it gets stolen? And,
right.
Yeah, that type of thing, right?
Yeah,
as you move along, your opportunities change.
Right, I see. Right. Because your stuff is at the AGO, which is a lot of artists would love to have their artwork in there for sure.
Yeah, and it's been a long road. My career has been kind of, when I first left school, you kind of zip up and then you kind of plateau.
That's right.
You plateau and wondering if what you did before was any good.
That's right.
You go through those doubtful periods, right? But you just gotta keep the mind fresh and keep your stories going.
Right. So, what sort of advice do you have? I know you have kids. Mm-hmm. Are they artists as well? Or did you say, no, don't get in the artist business? You become a doctor or an investment banker.
My daughter is a brilliant painter, but, she doesn't really believe me.
Oh, okay.
So she bartends, But, she did, she can. If she wanted to, she could be, she could be brilliant. That's what I think. Okay. And my son
And
OG.
I know your son OG. That's right. We've had him here recording in the past. Yeah.
I
love his music. Fantastic. We got to get him on the show at some point.
Yeah. So he just has a new project called Blight Brigade.
Okay.
Yeah, and, it's a 4-piece band.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, had a nice show out in the Junction recently, and they were supposed to play the G, Baby G.
Baby G. Okay, right.
Yeah, but that got shut down because of COVID and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and the twins, they're carpenters.
Okay.
They do fine carpentry.
Well, there's not enough people going in the trades, they say. There's going to be a problem moving forward with the shortage of people doing stuff.
Yeah. Well, we have to train our children differently. I think. Yeah, you have to be exposed to things to want to do them, right?
That's true.
And, it's different. Like me, I was apprenticing as a metal worker from the age of 11.
Oh, okay.
You go learn something, right?
Right.
I don't recommend that for everyone. I was a fairly big child.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah, but you get exposed to those things, and then you want to do it, right?
I see. Okay.
I think, and I mean it's the same back home as here, like our education system, it's not really geared towards developing tradespeople or craftspeople.
No.
I mean, we're all geared to be academics. And
in fact, a lot of schools actually kind of, push kids away from that, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the rubber hammer, it's, like, I remember the tech teacher wanted me to join his class. I was a new student. You should come take my course. Don't go in there, that's for rubber hammers, so you get that stigma, right?
Right.
And it's like, well, I grew up in a workshop.
That's right, yeah. That's right.
Yeah, but yeah, that's
good, because that was actually my question was like, what sort of advice would you have for, say, kids that are growing up and they're discovering art? They don't have to necessarily be the next Picasso or whoever, or you, but what sort of advice do you have for them to follow what they want to do?
I would say pick a medium, pick something to do.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You want to learn how to paint, you want to learn how to draw, play guitar, write, or pick something physical. Right? Your world right now, people need to do that. And once you do that, once you've picked something you want to learn and you want to express yourself with, tell your own story.
Right.
Tell your own story, tell your story of your relations. And
right.
Yeah.
And keep it sort of genuine and authentic, and try not to emulate other people's artwork.
Exactly.
That's what I try to tell people as well.
Yeah, don't emulate other people's artwork.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because when I went to school, like U of M was a huge abstract expressionist school.
Oh.
Yeah, so, everyone was doing abstract expressionist paintings. And then, like for somebody like my friend out in Alberta, now his paintings are super, like, realist, and this is what he always wanted to do, He wanted to paint pictures that look like people and landscapes, and, So his comment was like, wow, if I did this at U of M, I would have probably failed at the time. Right. Yeah, but, so... even if you have to do something to get through school, always follow your own interest, man.
Right.
In the final analysis, know yourself and express yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
So we're coming to the last couple of minutes of the show. You have a show currently at the AGO until the end of February 22nd, I believe it is.
Yeah.
And then after that, when's your next exhibition? Or what's your next big sort of public display of your work?
Okay,
or do you have one coming up in the...
I don't have one coming up.
Okay.
I'm currently in the proposal stage.
Okay.
Yeah, so the Carnival Pictures, there's about 16 paintings of
Right.
traditional costuming in the Caribbean,
Right.
and specifically Dominica.
Dominica, right.
And yeah, so I'm putting those out right now, to try and get spaces,
Right.
to champion the work, to show them.
Great.
And I'm
Great.
just at the tail end of a series of sculptures that I was just
That's right.
telling you
Okay.
about,
Well, we
right?
can't wait to see those.
So those ones as well.
Yeah.
I'll be looking for spaces,
Okay.
to show. So
That's great. And do you get back to Dominica very much to visit?
I
Or
will try. Yeah,
Okay.
as often as I can. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And for people that don't know where that is, it's in the Caribbean, around Martinique, St. Lucia, around those islands?
Right in that area.
Right in that
there.
area?
So yeah, right in between Martinique and Guadeloupe. Yeah,
Okay.
St. Lucia is also very close.
Right.
And we all speak like Creole, French Creole.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's some of the food down there? Like if I went down to visit, what would we be eating?
It'd be a lot of fish.
Okay, well, I'm allergic to fish, and she's allergic to seafood, so it's like...
root crops,
Okay.
I mean, there's lots of chicken and
that's good.
beef and
That's
dishes as well, and salt. Well, so
I know it's
I mean, it's an island, right?
So I get it.
Yeah, a lot of the foods are fish.
Right.
But there's lots of different salads and like callalus and
I'm trying to eat more healthy. Well, great. Well, thank you very much, Gomo, for coming on the show.
Sure.
And we'll post links to your works as well. And do you have a website that you have where people can see what you're doing and working on?
Yeah, so that's rasgomo.wix.
Okay.
.com
Okay.
/Gomo-George-1.
Okay. We'll get the link from you and we'll post it when we post the show.
Okay.
Thank you very much again. And we'll be happy to have you back anytime. Next time you do your next, revealing of your new work.
Okay.
Great.
Cool.
Thank you.
Sounds good. It was my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And thank you for watching.
Yeah.